You're listening to Brick by Brick, a podcast by the Brownstone Experience. I am Felicia, and I will be interviewing women of color entrepreneurs at the table. We'll learn more about their entrepreneurial journey, lessons they've learned, and tools they use to remain successful. Enjoy. Hey, Adjwoa, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to Brick by Brick, a podcast by the Brownstone Experience. Yes. Now we're at the table. So we're going to talk all business.
Okay.
We're going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. And we just want to share with the audience some tools and resources, and maybe they can get some takeaways to help them on their journey. Because one of my reasons why is because Black women are starting businesses at record paces. We're getting degrees at record paces. And so I want to contribute to that conversation and to build a community, an ecosystem where we can help each other out. So ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we know that you were, if you checked out On the Couch, ladies, Adjwoa was born and raised into an entrepreneurial family. Her father started the bookstore. But currently, I want to say congratulations because very recently you graduated with your master's. Your master's in business in cannabis.
Correct. Yes.
So I want to share and learn about that industry. So we currently live in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the stigma is gone. I was telling someone that I'm very appreciative of you asking, are we sure that we want to discuss that on a platform as this? But I think the stigma is going away. How do you feel about it?
I think the stigma is still there.
Okay.
Amongst the older crowd, just because, and the people who've been affected by the war on drugs. So if you have family who is locked up for selling marijuana, you might not be too fond of people making money from it. So I think this negative stigma is still there. I think the positiveness of it, like medicinally, is growing. But I think that people who are affected very negative, like they still have loved ones in the penitentiary for marijuana, are just selling drugs overall. When you tell somebody you're making money off of it, they kind of give you a side eye.
Already learning. So that would be the baby boomers, right,
Mm-hmm.
who were a part of the war on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm a millennial. And so now it's Gen Z who will really realize the true benefits of commercial.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So, so the stigma is still there. Maybe to calling it like the criminal stigma.
Correct, yes.
It's still there.
Yes.
But as far as doing it recreationally,
people don't really care.
People don't really care anymore. No. And I think in corporate, less people are doing drug tests.
And it's not in the state of Texas. So I do know, like, for a company I used to work for, they needed employees. So they kind of closed their eyes to the marijuana part of the test. And I know that more companies are getting that way, but you still get randomly drug tested, especially if you come to work smelling like it, or if your eyes bloodshot red, or maybe you took off work for 420. Mm-hmm. You might get drug tested. Myself, somebody who studies cannabis, has to be ready to be drug tested at any time.
So like Cat Williams said, you can smoke your weed, but by all means, get your paper.
Get your paper. Be smart.
Gotcha. And so right now, weed is legal in what states?
It's legal, I think, in about 28 or 32 states right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you know what? We got to even go step back a minute because you are talking about medicinally as well.
Yes. When I say legal, I mean recreational. Like, we can go from Texas to Nevada and buy it with just showing our ID versus having to go get a medical card or something like that.
In 28 or 32 states, it's recreationally?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm behind. I'm thinking Colorado, California.
Washington State, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, I think, is getting ready to become fully legal. Not Chicago. Illinois is recreational. It's a lot of states.
That's the majority of the country.
Mm-hmm. Florida is dang near recreational. Their medicinal list is for everything. If you say, I'm depressed, or, your dog could die, you could be sad, you can go get a medical card.
Yeah. So the business of cannabis is, what size is the market?
It's humongous, but the thing is, it doesn't reflect the people who are affected by the war on drugs. So people like brown and black people.
When you say it doesn't affect that, what do you mean?
Or it doesn't reflect, I'm sorry. So it's a lot of people, it's a $1 billion industry, but it's predominantly operated by white, large corporations. So you don't see too many, especially black women or even Latino women or men or women. Yeah, and when you look at the people who were affected by the war on drugs, whose communities, families were destroyed, like ours, you look at movies like Snowfall, you see how drugs impacted the community, it left it
Absolutely.
poor,
Absolutely.
sent everybody to jail or just to
Destroyed
the
our
grave.
black
Destroyed it,
families.
right? While they're doing the same drugs, they're not getting locked up for it, but they're making money off of it. And so, right now, just from doing my research and being in the program that I was in, people are excited for me because they need more color in the industry. They need people who can relate to people who are affected by the war on drugs and trying to reverse that war on drugs because, like you said, that stigma is still there. And especially in Texas, you can still get locked up for having too much on you, especially in these small towns. You know, Dallas, they got bigger things, bigger fish to fry. But when you go to those small towns, if you smelling like marijuana or cannabis, you might get locked up, depending on how you react. So my goal is to change that, to change the rules, the compliance laws, things like that.
Yeah. We talked about an organization or not, maybe a movement. I use the word movement, buy weed from a black woman. What is rooted? What is that rooted in?
So it started off with buy weed from women because the cannabis industry is dominated by white men. It is what it is. They got the capital, they do the research, they can produce the products, they put it out there. So white women felt left out. So white women, African American, and Latino women all came together and said, you know what? We need to support each other. Let's produce buy weed from women. So they would push out T-shirts, bags, and all of the money that was raised from those things would go towards women-owned organizations. So, like, I know I bought a T-shirt, and the money went towards a black dispensary. I believe it's called Gorilla RX in California, a black-owned dispensary. So my money went there. But it's really just to help promote women businesses because we don't have the capital. We don't have the same resources that men have. One of my favorite organizations is called Free My Weed Man.
Okay.
Because we all know a weed man that got locked up or somebody that was sent to jail for weed. So I love that organization because it helps the money that they raise and the awareness that they raise helps to go to lawyer fees and things to getting people out of jail for those reasons.
I love it. So circulating a dollar
Yes.
amongst minorities, really speaking to the wealth gap that exists here in America, because we know who holds a large percentage.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And so, what do you plan to do in Texas as we are on the road to making it legal here in Texas? Because right now it is legal in Austin, right? Austin only? Is it a county or the city?
I believe it's a city, and I think it's like one dispensary in Houston somewhere. One like medicinal dispensary.
One medicinal dispensary. And so, how long of a road? Texas is huge, right? I mean, California's
Yeah, but Texas
bigger.
is going to be the biggest market that the whole country has seen. People are scared because they know that
We got it right here.
they know that once Texas gets it together, which they're getting it together right now, don't let them fool you. It's over for the surrounding states. Our tourism is already up, so once we legalize it, it gives people an extra reason to visit our state.
Yes. And one thing I've learned from you during this time is, again, how black and brown people are being shut out of this industry, the commercialization of it. So when you go out to Cali or all of these other states, right, and you're seeing these dispensaries on every corner, do you mean to tell me that the odds in the way that it's going now of Black ownership are little to none?
So the way that Texas has it set up for legal dispensaries, I'm not saying like a place to sell CBD or anything like that. You could do that freely. I'm not gonna say it's not that. It's hard to do, but you can get your money together and open up a CBD dispensary. But when it comes to legal THC being medicinal, the way that the state is gonna have it, you're gonna need a lot of money in your pocket, and I'm not talking about $1 million, maybe 5 million, because the dispensary license alone is $500,000. Yeah. So I'm not sure who just has $500,000 in the back pocket, savings account. But in Texas, you're gonna have to own every single aspect of your operation. So from seed to sale, from the farm to the dispensary. So different licenses for different aspects. And yeah, if the dispensary license is $500,000 alone, you can only guess how much the farming license and per acre and things like that. So how much capital you'll actually need to get it going legally in Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a supply chain, right? So you said we're going to have to own from seed to sale. You're saying one person, if I want to open up a dispensary, I have to also own the farm?
So not specifically just one person, but one company.
One company. So we could participate in crowdfunding. So it goes back to pooling our resources together to make this happen.
Correct.
Which is, I'm sure, is happening in other races. And so your expertise is, you taught me a lot about what it means to test the marijuana or the cannabis.
Cannabis.
Which is, what would you say is the correct term?
Cannabis, that's the fancy legal term.
Oh, that's
Cannabis,
the legal term.
Yeah.
And what is marijuana, the leaf?
So marijuana is the racist term that they came out with for Hispanics who was smoking this reefer a long time ago. They came out because marijuana is a Hispanic Mexican name. And so they came out with marijuana to make it seem like just this horrible thing that people were crossing the border with and, you know, making people crazy. So when you say marijuana, some people do take it. It can be offensive to some people just because the name, the roots have racist term. It's a racist term, but it's cannabis. But I mean, in our community, it's marijuana, weed, dope, whatever you want to call it. So yeah.
Okay, I'm processing.
Yes.
You made me forget. You didn't make me. I'm sorry. My therapist would help me on that. What's the name of the plant then? I forgot now.
So we call it just call it cannabis.
No, the plant.
It's a cannabis plant.
It's a cannabis plant. So when you said legal term, now I feel like the legalization of it, a part of the rebranding is using cannabis, other than getting away from marijuana.
And it's a nicer name.
Yeah.
Because it's a plant. So you just call it by its name, cannabis.
Yeah, definitely in our community is weed.
Yes, weed.
All day long.
Yeah.
And then, you got that Barack Obama.
Yeah, you got OG, you got Kush, you got everything.
All of that, yes. Gotcha. And so let's go back to the process of it and how our community can, if we want to take part in it, it will definitely be finding, crowdfunding of some sort. And would you say not to start at the dispensary end, because a lot of people are going to start there first. I want my own dispensary.
That's a tough question because, like I said, you're going to have to own every aspect. So, yeah, we could have people who are down for the dispensary, retail level, but you're going to need farmers. You're going to need people who can market, who know how to package products, who know how to design things, who know how to transport it. We're going to need trucks. We're going to need everything. So I think crowdfunding for the African American community is going to be the biggest thing if we want to own, if we want capital in Texas in the marijuana industry, we're going to have to put our money together.
Yeah.
Unless, you some celebrity or you inherited some large amount of money, which they're coming to. It's big companies that's already working with the state of Texas, like who do it in Florida, everywhere else, and all they got to do is buy the land, and they already got the process down packed. But for us, it's going to be a little different. We're going to have to get a team of individuals who trust each other, who have clean backgrounds. So I have to be honest with you and say, hey, girl, you know what? I got caught smoking pot back then. Maybe I shouldn't. My name shouldn't go on the LLC because once the state of Texas runs that background check and sees that, you'll get X'd out. You might not get your application money back.
Gotcha.
So just being honest, upfront, trustworthy. Really, trust is big because when you put a lot of money into something, you want to trust that the people, number one, know what they're talking about. They represent you well. You don't want to have anybody going into anywhere acting a fool because that's going to mess up the money. So I just say trust your team. You're going to have to work with people you don't like, which is okay. We do it all the time.
We got the end goal. Keep the end goal in mind.
Keep the end goal in mind and put people where if somebody is strong in gardening or farming, put them on the seed level. Somebody in retail owns a bookstore for however long or knows, how the retail level goes. Put them at the dispensary level. So put people where their strengths are. It's okay to tell people where they're weak at and if they need to back up. But yeah, just being truthful and not being afraid to maybe hurt somebody's feelings. Because, at the end of the day, you're going to get your cut, your percentage. You'll be happy. It's $1 billion industry. We need to get into it. We need to make money off of it. Yeah. We need generational wealth. We talk about it all the time.
Yes.
People side-eye me. I got hate DMs for posting and I got a degree in cannabis. Like, oh, how can you make money off of something that pretty much enslaved our people? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I get it. It's cool. Like, what his finesse 2 times. It's cool when they do it, but it's a problem when I do it. So I'm doing it, and I'm excited, and yeah.
And it's funny that you ended there because that was my next question. What would you like to see for our communities, when it comes to this topic? It's going to be a journey, right? We may be in our 60s or 70s before we realize what we would like to see ideally is just the reality of the situation. But what would you like to see for our communities from the next generation, how they can be wise as this industry is opening up?
First off, education. I do believe in marijuana, cannabis education. I do not believe children should be smoking it at a young age. So when my nieces and nephews, of course, I don't have anything in the house in case the police are listening. But I do educate them on like the positives and the negatives of it and what'll happen if you do it too much or if you buy it from a certain person or if you buy it from somebody you don't know. It's a lot of deaths going around with people lacing things. So I do believe in educating the youth. Letting them see how you can make money off of it legally.
Yeah.
I tell my nieces all the time, yeah, people sell a little weed here and there, but where do they end up going? To jail.
Yeah.
And you don't see the profits of your labor while you're in jail. I told one of my cousins, we kind of had an argument because he doesn't want me to get into the business, but he does stuff illegally. And I'm like, well, when you get locked up, in the future, or actually right now in a certain county in Texas, you're going to be watering weed plants for 25 cents an hour for some large corporation. Because that's just how the state of Texas works when you have a private prison industry. So it's like you want to do it legally, you want to do it illegally. So education, educating the youth, teaching them the truth about the plant, the medicinal things about the plant. Also, just teaching them, it's okay if your mom smokes weed, if she's stressed. Men and women have a lot on their plate. Don't judge somebody for doing it. Teach them about the other negative drugs that are out there, opioids. People get hooked on those very easily. So with me, it's all about education and then compliance, making sure everything is safe. Because just because you get it at a dispensary doesn't make it safe. Oklahoma just had some issues where the testing was bad and people were receiving bad product. So with me, I want to make sure all my future customers or people who I'm dealing with are receiving clean products that's not going to make you have an episode or that's not going to cause you to have a stomach ache or anything like that.
Yeah. So what I hear is also educating yourself on the different career paths that are available, right?
Yeah.
So it may not be ownership, but like everything else, we can, educate ourselves and come in at so many different levels, right? You giving us so much terminology from seed to sale, dispensary level, gardening. So can you share a few of the different career fields?
Yeah, so I know, like, I have a friend who lives in Colorado. They water marijuana plants for $17 an hour. They just make sure the plants aren't browning, that they're moist for $17 an hour. That's pretty good. Just to water
And
plants.
is that kind of like the entry level?
Yeah, that's entry level. If you're a chemist, you could play with the chemicals. You can mix. You can mutate plants to create something new. That's something else people could get into. Marketing. I know a lot of people are into social media right now. Everybody wants to be influencers. You could be a cannabis marketer, a cannabis influencer. Of course, there's certain words you can't say on social media, or you'll get your account may get deleted or shadow banned or something like that. But you need marketers, you need designers, you need people who can design a package of whatever you might buy and make it pretty.
Yeah.
But also have all the right rules and labels and everything on there. What else are we gonna need?
What about we talked about the testing.
Oh yeah, you're gonna need
licensing,
samplers, testing. You're gonna need labs. And it'd be kind of awesome to have a black-owned lab.
That's so dope. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of labs in the state right now. There's a woman in upstate in New York who's a black woman. She owns a lab and she's looking to expand. So it's just not on a dispensary.
Right.
A lot of people just go straight to that. There's so many careers in it and at different levels. Like I said, when I graduated college, I think I made like $15 an hour. I didn't make that much money. I could have just went to Colorado and watered weed plants for 17.
But we ain't gonna talk about that today. Versus this bachelor's degree, we got that full ride though.
So, I mean, it's pretty versatile. I just say, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to go to school for that now," and I'm like, "Well, before you dive into it, just see if you even need it."
Yeah.
Don't go waste your money on a degree. I ain't gonna say waste your money, but if it's no point in you using it, don't put all that time into it. If you know you an awesome gardener, stick to that and just learn how to grow what you need to grow. And when it's time, when we come together, you are going to be that expert grower that we need.
That's right. Right. You're a subject matter expert in one piece of the whole process.
Correct.
One thing that I always ask my guests to share with the audience are 3 tools that you would share that help you to remain successful as an entrepreneur and as a Black woman.
Oh, okay.
And it can be books, resources, technology. It can be a part of your self-care routine.
So number 1 is going to be sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sleeper. On Mondays, that's my only off day. I sleep till like 1 p.m. Everything do not disturb. You need your rest no matter what. Sometimes we become workaholics, and if you don't get enough rest, it'll show. So sleep is number 1. Number 2 would have to be just being real with yourself and your community. Don't forget where you came from. It's a African symbol called Sankofa. Okay. That means in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. So don't leave your community behind because they will humble you. And they also got your back. So, you want to also make sure wherever level you go to, you got your community back. You bring in people up with you that you never forgetting. The third thing I would have to say is self-love again.
Yeah.
because you're going to deal with a lot of negativity just from all over. But once
being a black woman.
Just being a black woman, like, oh, you can't do it. Or I've even heard, I'm not light-skinned enough. And you like, what? Like, I thought that was so 70s or 60s.
We still doing that?
Yeah, or I've heard, like, and I know how to play the game. Sometimes you have to play the game. Sometimes I have to straighten my hair, code switch, put on my Valley Girl voice to get what needs to be done. But I would just say self-love, knowing who you are, knowing where you came from, loving your culture, and just doing what's best for you and your community.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know y'all have learned a lot. We're gonna stick with weed and not marijuana and cannabis. Cannabis if we got a code switch.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Adji.
Thank you.
Until next time, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, like, and share so that others will learn about Brick by Brick by the Brownstone Experience. You can also learn more about our guests by going to our website, The Brownstone Experience.